what your mama forgot. I know it hurts.
Hi everybody and welcome to Run Tall with Tim. I'm Tim. I'm glad you're here and I hope you're happy, healthy, and staying safe. On today's video, I'm going to be comparing two max cushion daily trainers. It's the Nike Invincible Run versus the New Balance Fresh Foam More V3.
First day of school, I know it hurts so bad. Let it go, let it go. You'll be better off without our breaks. We don't care if you're low, we will never let you go. Can't take anymore.
Now both of these shoes feature really comfortable upper with big stack heights of midsole foam. They feature rocker design, lots of bounce and energy return. So how do you know which one to buy? Well, that's the question that we're going to try to answer today. So stick around. But before I get into it too far, I always like to demonstrate what it looks like to run in the shoes I'm about to review for you. So let's do that. But then when we come back together, I'm going to take a real deep dive into the Nike Invincible Run and the New Balance Fresh Foam More V3 in an epic shoe battle of cushion kings to try to answer that all-important question: which shoe is right for you? Now this video is not intended to be a full review of either shoe, but if you want to check that out, I'll put a link in the description below to reviews that I've completed for each one previously. Both of these are neutral road shoes that I ordered true to size, and they fit me perfectly. The Nike ZoomX Invincible Run, now they are the more expensive of the two options. They retail for $180 US, while the New Balance Fresh Foam More V3, now they cost $165 US. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the Run Tall family. I'm glad you found us on YouTube and we get to spend a little time together. Now I post running shoe reviews, comparisons, and shoe battles weekly. So if you enjoy watching running shoe reviews and other videos that are about running, be sure to subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time that I upload new content. We already know that the Nike ZoomX Invincible Run is losing this shoe battle if cost was the only consideration, because $180 is a lot of money for a daily trainer. But it's not the only consideration. They make up a little bit of ground with the weight because they are the lighter of the two options. For a men's size 9 on my scales, they came in at 9.8 ounces or 276 grams, while women's size 8 came in at 8.9 ounces or 252 grams. Now the More V3 is only slightly heavier, but it does weigh just a little bit more. And again, for a men's size 9 on my scales, they came in at 10.2 ounces or 289 grams, while a women's size 8, now they came in at 8.9 ounces or 255 grams. So let's talk about the midsole. With the Nike, we've got their ZoomX foam, and then with the New Balance, we got their Fresh Foam X midsole foam. Starting with the Nike Invincible Run, we have 36.6 millimeters in the heel and 27.6 millimeters in the forefoot. So we've got a ton of ZoomX foam with a 9 millimeter offset from the heel to the toe. It's really soft, bouncy. You know, it almost sounds hollow when I'm walking or running in these shoes. So It is a bit different. It's far different, I think, the midsole material that they used in the Nike ZoomX Invincible Run than any other max cushion shoe that I've run in so far this year. So tons of energy return, but it is a little bit unstable, especially when I'm trying to corner. I did feel like my ankles had to do a lot of work there, a lot of stress and strain on my ankles just to try to keep me upright as I'm going around those corners. And then we'll take a look at the geometry of the shoe. So let me kind of flip this over here. We'll start in the heel. You can see that it's a flat heel there. It has only a slight heel bevel, but it has a bit of a heel bevel there. It has a more rocker design up there in the forefoot of the shoe to help give you a nice transition as you move through your gait cycle. It has a big wide landing platform. The foam is just so soft and so bouncy, you can't help but feel a bit unstable. If you're going straight, if you're going forward, you know, the feeling is really incredible. There's just a lot of energy return. It's really soft. You just feel like you can go for mile after mile pretty darn comfortably. For me, I felt like I was getting the most out of the shoe when I was striking the ground right about where the midfoot and forefoot meet, right at that rocker portion of the shoe. I just felt like it was almost effortless as I moved through my gait cycle. But I do like the big wide landing platform. It doesn't add a lot of stability in terms of pronation, but I do feel like it gives you a lot of area that hits the ground to help keep you safe. You know, that gives you a lot of rubber that meets the road here, and to help keep you feeling like you're not going to have your feet come out from underneath you in a variety of different kinds of conditions that are out there that you might be running in. And then it does snug up a little bit there in the midfoot section of the shoe, but then it has, again, that big wide landing platform there in the heel, and all of which gives you a really nice, comfortable ride. I think if you're a heel striker, you know, even though this isn't a super aggressive heel bevel here, I do think it adds a little bit to the experience so that as you strike the ground and move through your gait cycle, you're going to find a pretty smooth transition. So let's take a look at the midsole on the More V3, see how that stacks up, so to speak, against the Invincible Run. Now here they have 38 millimeters in the heel and 34 millimeters of their Fresh Foam X midsole foam for a 4 millimeter offset. So a bit more foam underfoot. Now these do feel really bouncy. I don't feel like I'm getting quite as much energy return out of that Fresh Foam X midsole foam as what I'm getting out of the ZoomX material, but it's still really soft. Very, very comfortable. It is more stable, so it's a little bit more gentle on my ankles as I'm going around corners. So let's take a look at the geometry of the shoe just a little bit. To do that, I'm going to flip it over, and we can see that now these feature a rounded heel. They too have what I would just say a slight heel bevel. It's really nothing super aggressive, but they also feature that rocker design up in the forefoot of the shoe, and all of which makes for a nice smooth transition as I move through my gait cycle. I found these to be really comfortable to run in. As I flip them over, and we'll take a look at the platform that you're landing on. Now these are wide in the forefoot, and they stay wide all the way through to the heel, so they really don't snug up that much across the midfoot section, which does give you a little bit different feeling as you lock down the shoe with the upper. So overall, I would say between the midsole foams, the ZoomX midsole material that they used in the Invincible Run does give you more energy return. Now I took these both out on the same or identical routes around my town to run in, and I did feel like my legs were a little less tired running in the ZoomX foam midsole material as opposed to the Fresh Foam X midsole. However, I do like the stability that I get, or a more stable ride, especially going around corners, that I was in the Fresh Foam X midsole foam over the ZoomX. So let's flip these over and we'll take a look at the outsole, see how they're protecting all that soft midsole foam that we just looked at. Starting with the Invincible Run first. Here you can see that Nike has covered all of that ZoomX midsole foam from the heel through to the toe with rubber. I think they did a really good job here. I think that was smart on their part. That midsole foam is so soft that I think if it wasn't completely covered, it'd get chewed up pretty quickly. Also, they did a nice job, I think, in keeping the amount of rubber that they use down to a pretty thin layer, so it doesn't take away from the experience of running in that ZoomX foam. And I like the waffle pattern that they used. It's done a good job of help keeping me feel like I was safe when I was out running, especially when it was in some wet conditions. So let's take a look at the More V3. Now here, New Balance has put rubber in all of the high abrasion areas where you're likely to see wear first. I think they did a good job. You know, you don't want to overdo it so that it does take away from the run experience or adds more weight to the shoe unnecessarily. But they did cover all of the areas where you're likely to see wear first. round in the heel, along on the medial side of the shoe, then up through to the forefoot. So overall, I think both companies did a nice job in how they are protecting all that midsole foam. So let's take a look at the upper, starting with the Invincible Run first. Here they use their fly knit material. Now I found these to be really comfortable. They're very breathable. I got a nice snug lockdown feeling across the midfoot section of the shoe. And I think that in part has to do with how narrow it does get with that outsole and midsole material that they use. So the upper does feel kind of more like you're wrapping your foot. So it gives you a nice feeling that way. I found these to be really breathable, very comfortable. I had plenty of room for me to be able to splay my toes. I felt like the fit was spot on for me. I ordered them true to size, as I mentioned early in the video, and I'm glad that I did. They do have a standard eyelet chain, no big wow factor. They do have that extra eyelet in case you want to run with a runner's knot. The only real note is the laces, which is an easy fix, but these laces are really wide. That doesn't bother me as much as just how short they are. You know, when you use the runner's knot, that does take up a little extra lace, and especially when you do that, the laces are a little bit short, makes it difficult to put that extra knot in for safety. So Nike could have given us a little bit longer lace for $180. Lots of cushion around the heel collar and the tab, plenty there to keep comfortable. It does feature a more classic heel counter design. Nice heel pocket for you to set in. Didn't have any issues that way at all. So let's take a look at the upper on the More V3. Here they used an engineered mesh material. It's very soft to the touch. It's cloth-like, unlike the Invincible Run, has a more coarse feel to it. These also are not nearly as breathable as the Invincible Run, so they're not that cool on foot. They do run warm for an upper. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to mention before I forget, when the More V3, when that upper material gets wet, it seems to stay wet, while that fly knit material on the Invincible Run seems to dry out rather quickly. One of the noticeable differences is on the lace enclosure system. So here you can see on the eyelet chain that they feature a couple of loops here right in the midfoot section. Now that's to allow you to bring that lace enclosure system in a little bit closer to snug up that midfoot, maybe give you a bit more of a customized fit or feel to that lockdown. I think they did a good job there. I've always felt comfortable in the More V3. And also they have lots of padding around the heel collar and tab. Now these do feature an Achilles heel flare. Again, a little bit different than what we saw in the Invincible Run, as a more classic heel counter design to them. And they have a nice, well-defined heel pocket. I didn't have any heel slippage, either up or down or side to side, really in either one of these shoes. Now the tongue on both of these shoes is about the same in terms of the padding, and they went about it pretty much the same way. They both start with a vented system down at the start of the tongue. Then they have a little bit of padding there at the top. The one noticeable difference is with the Invincible Run, it is a semi-gusseted tongue, while the New Balance Fresh Foam More V3 does not feature that semi-gusset. So overall, I think these both make a great choice for a max cushion daily trainer, but they are very different, as I pointed out in the video. With that Nike ZoomX midsole foam, you get a lot of energy return, more than what I felt like I was getting out of that Fresh Foam X midsole foam. And the upper is much more breathable. So I do prefer that fly knit material over that engineered mesh material that New Balance is using. But for me, in this shoe battle, I got to go with the New Balance Fresh Foam More V3. They're super comfortable. Yes, I'm giving up a little bit of that energy return, but they're a lot more stable going around the corners. And I need to stay safe. I don't want to re-injure myself because I've been dealing with some injuries this past year. So for that reason and that reason alone, I'm going with the New Balance Fresh Foam More V3 to win this shoe battle. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it for you. As always, run tall, run strong, be kind to one another. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
There was this thing about you, the way you carry yourself, kinda awkward, cute, self-assured. I just couldn't wrap my head around.